This is Michelle, and she's gonna get her hair cut. So I want to do the consultation with you. I probably shouldn't have sectioned her till I did the consultation. So I saw her before we washed her hair. You know, and it's important for you to do your consultation probably when the hair is dry, right when the client comes in, obviously. So you can see how they wear it, you can see what it looks like. If it's, you know, if the ends are frizzy, you might suggest a little bit more of a trim, or you might suggest a scalp treatment or something, or a keratin treatment. So you want to see how it looks dry. And then we had our consultation already, because I need to see the weight. I need to see the bottom, where it's going to fall. If I only section up the back, I don't see the full picture. I can't see where it's going to connect to the sides. So I want to bring everything down so that I can have cohesiveness. I want a connection here. And once I have my connection, then I'll bring more layers down. Sometimes I don't let a section. I just start to cut. Especially if it's a 0, I'll just bring it all down if it's not too thick. But she has a lot of hair. She has thick hair. And I don't want to do that this time. But you don't always have, in school we want you to section, but you don't always have to section later. You do as you feel will help you. So I am going to ask her to tilt her head down. Why do I tilt her head down? I think we've discussed this before. Why do you guys think? Say it again? So I get a true 0, no elevation. Because when she tilts her head down, this strand right here, I can hold it at a true 0, no elevation. But watch, when she pulls her head forward, and if the chair, let's say I'm cutting down here, the back of the chair, that's not in a 0 anymore. So I'm going to have a few little cut lines at the bottom, because this is not a true 0. Look at the root. Whereas when she tilts her head down, look at the root, what happens. It's a true 0. And I'm just going to go in and cut. So I'm going to cut it like that. So now look down, and I'm going to pull the front back. Because it's not a very graduated bob, I'm going to pull it to the back, and that's going to give me enough of a A-line. And I'll slap my finger a little bit. I could always go shorter. So I'll leave it a little longer than I think, pull it over to the side, and see what happens. Okay, can you look straight? I want her to look straight because I want to see how much of an angle I got. You know, because if she stays looking down, it may not be enough of an angle, so then I'll go shorter in the back. But I think that's what, she showed me the picture, and that's what she wanted. So I'm going to stop here. You can always take it shorter. Now, before I do the other side, it's always easy to do the first side because you have nothing to compare it to. You're just creating it. But before I go to the other side, I want to give myself a guide. So I'm going to take a piece from the front. And be careful which piece you choose. If she had some layers, I might have chosen a shorter one, but the length is actually lower. So make sure when you're choosing a piece that you're choosing one that is of the length. Move everything else out of the way. And I'm going to come to the front and try to find a piece parallel or even with the other one. And thick enough that I could see it, but thin enough that I could hide it if I make a mistake and I cut too much. So maybe something like this. And I'll move over before I cut, but I'm going to look at her. And I'm going to pull both pieces to the center and, do this, and that's going to give me my little guide of where I could snip. And I'm going to use her nose and her chin to center it. Because, if it's off-centered, of course, one side is going to be longer or shorter than the other. So I will pull them evenly with the same amount of tension, pull it down, make it centered with her nose and her chin, and give myself a little snip. And that gave me an idea of where I'm going to go to. Because I know where I'm going from, that short piece we did, but I didn't know where I was going to on that side. This side I created it, but the other side I can't just create it, I have to match it. Once you do this part, you're going to look in the mirror, and you're going to take your fingers to the end of that, take your fingers to the end of this, look in the mirror, and I haven't checked it yet, and I feel like this is a little bit longer. Look in the mirror, bring your fingers together, and if your fingers come together by her nose and her chin in the center, then you're good. But if not, does one look longer than the other? Yeah, this one I cut it too long. I left it too long. So this is how you would check it in the mirror. I'll go back to the front and check it myself. It's always better to do less than more. Okay, now you guys tell me. I went too long right here, but let me go ahead and go with the longer. And then I'm gonna, there's that guide. I can't hold all that, but I'll point in the right direction. You want to spend most of your time getting this guideline right, because the guide is guiding you for the rest of the haircut. If the guide is off, obviously the whole haircut will be off. Now I can connect. Your hair is going to feel so nice. Okay, look straight. Now I'm going to take a look at the overall before I move on. I'm not moving on yet. Till I see and I agree that it's okay. Yeah, and I think it's good. So now I'm just going to bring down my guides, or the rest of the hair. If I want to pull all of it, that's fine. If not, I'm just going to pull down whatever I can see through. She's got a lot of hair. I can't even see through all that. So let me see. I can't see through that very well. So let me take less. And when you're doing a zero, you want to let the hair fall wherever it naturally is going to fall, and then use the guide that's right under it. So for example, I don't want to pull these strands this way and use this guide, because when they fall, it's going to be different, right? So I want to follow the natural fall. She's got a little directional growth right here. Can you see how it's going over to this side? Mm-hmm. So if I pull it this way and then it comes to do whatever it wants to do, it's going to look off. So I need to pay attention to that. Okay, look down, Michelle. Another time she's going to look down. Now I could have started my 45 from there, but this way I could show you two haircuts, so I'd rather do it this way. So now here, I might not really see my guide, but if I can move a little bit of this hair over, do you see how that one kind of popped out? Mm-hmm. And if I move here, I can't see the end. If I move that one over, then there's that one there too. I want to see a guide at my fingertip and at my knuckle. If I just see one guide, I might be following my guide on that side, but look, the other side I can't. It's going to be off. So you need to see your guide here and here. So let me do that again. I see this side, but I don't see this side. Oh, there it is. Okay, there and there. There it is. And I'm just going to go in and cut. Easier, yeah. So here's my guide, and then this length here is my guide. I'm going to ask her to look down again, and I want to make sure that this line that I shocked you or didn't shock you with, my fingertips, so I'm going to move the hair over so I can see it. So this part is the part that it gets a little tricky if I don't pay attention to this part. I want to see where her hair is falling, right? Yeah, I combed this back, but that's not where it's going to fall. So I want to part it in the center where she says she parts it, and let the rest fall wherever it wants to fall, and use that guide that's right under. Always make sure the hair is evenly wet. And be careful, because I cut a lot of hair, it's going to be slippery on the floor. So be careful when you're working. Okay, so now I can see where her hair is going to fall. Look down again. Okay. Sorry, this is a guide there, guide there. Michelle, are you going to do anything with your color? Do you have a plan in mind?
I guess I'll just go to dark brown. That's about it.
Yeah. Have you ever had your hair thinned before?
No.
Look straight. So the style that she wanted, she's got a lot of hair, and the style that she wanted has a lot of movement. You know, it's those beachy waves that everybody's doing, but the ends, if they're really thick and they're heavy, they're not going to have all that movement. I am going to 45, which is going to kind of texturize her ends. That'll give her more movement, but it might not be enough. I've asked her, has she ever thinned her hair? And she said no. I don't necessarily want to thin it, but I want to texturize the ends so she can have more movement. So when I get there, I'm going to ask her and see if she'll be open to that. Also, the angle of your A, even though this isn't really but the angle is at the very bottom, right? Once I put some layers in here, that angle is going to look even a little more dramatic because you're going to see this weight. Even though I didn't hire this line, but I am going to lift some of this hair up, and so you're going to have more movement. So keep that in mind too, that sometimes it might not be a huge slant, but once you get your layers in, you can see it more. Okay, so now I want to do a little bit of movement. You know, Michelle, the picture you showed me didn't have many layers on the side. You want me to put a few in?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is the way we're going to do it.
You're going to blend her bangs into that long piece, or you're going to let it?
That I need to, talk to her about that. I didn't talk to her about that at the beginning because we were trying to trick you, but I will talk to her about that. Okay, so I am going to, like I always do, take this guideline here. Because what this is going to do is it's going to give me layers in the front and layers in the back. She doesn't want a lot of layers in the front. And of course we all have less hair on the sides. So I don't want to take too much off. But if I hold it back, what's going to happen to the front? The layers. They'll be longer than the back ones. If I bring this down, it's going to give me an idea of how high up those layers are going to start. I want to do a little more than that for the back. So maybe like this. And I want a point cut because the whole purpose of this is to give her some movement. I don't want straight blunt lines. So those are going to give me some guides. That's going to give me the guide for the sides and how many layers I'm going to do on the side. And it's also going to give me a guide for my for the back. So, yeah.
How do you determine how much you want to take off the top?
Yeah, you just look kind of, and you know how when I did it and then I brought my fingers down, I saw that it was about, 3 inches or 2 inches up from the length. And I thought, okay, that looks good. I could always do more. But that was a starting point, I guess. So I'm going to look for my top guide. There it is there. And I'm going to connect it to my 0. Where's my 0? Down there. Do you see my guide right here? So it's not too much. Remember, it's kind of like a 45, although I'm not holding it in a 45-degree angle. I'm just blending the guides together. And I'm going to give it a little more texture. And I'm going to take a look at my first section just to see. And can you guys see how far up those layers are starting? It's a very low. She didn't want it too high because she's going to do those waves. And those waves are not with short layers. They're with the longer layers. So I think that's to the center. I'm not going to move over like I usually do with a layered haircut. I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to bring the layers or the sections back, and I'm going to look through. Can you guys see my guide? I'm going to look. I see my top guide, I see my bottom guide, and I'm just going to point cut. Could always do more, but side's longer, right? Because I'm dragging it to the center. So I'll do the same here. A 45-degree haircut is so interesting because it's actually two different haircuts. It's not, you can't do a 45 in the front. Do you see my guide, guys? Mm-hmm. You can see it, right? Clearly. I mean, it's textured and it's not a blunt line, but you can see exactly what I need to do. Do you notice how far back my fingers are? So that when I open my shear, I'm not going to open it like this. If I did, maybe I'll cut myself. But if I open it less, let's say I open it 1 inch, and my fingers are 1.5 inches or more than 1 inch away from the ends, I'm not going to cut myself. But if I hold my fingers like this, and I'm doing this, or if I open it a little more then I might hurt myself. So that's why I keep my fingers away. The hair is standing out. I can still see what I'm doing, but I'll keep my fingers away. Okay, this part here is really, so a 45, when you're doing a 45, you're taking most of the hair from here, right? I'm layering this part. Okay, if I'm layering this part, on the side, the hairline stops up here. In the back, the hairline stops down here. So that 45 that I just did, I layered all these all those pieces. Well, there aren't any pieces like that here on the side. So it's a complete different haircut on the side. It's different. So because, okay, I pulled this back so that I can do my layers, but then here I need to be careful because this is the transition area. I don't want to make a hole in my zero. If I'm not careful and I pick this piece up, let's just say I picked that up and I layered all that, when I drop it, I will have a shorter piece in there because it's a transition area. I'm going from hairline coming from here to hairline growing and stopping here. I got to transition somehow. So I pulled this back, which made this longer, which helped me prevent making a hole here. But also, if I pull this back and I cut, if I did more graduation, a closer kind of graduated bob in the back, let's say, if I cut it shorter, then when I let this go, I am going to have a hole there. So even if I was going to go shorter, I would drop my zero, make sure I drop all this, and then pull this back and layer it.
Are you using the bottom
Guide.
your guide?
Yeah. The length. You're using the length.
To not touch that?
Because if I brought it back, let's say I was cutting the layers another 2 inches.
Right.
If I bring it back and I don't let it go, I'm going to have a hole there. So how much do I let go? Maybe that's your question.
Yeah, maybe.
If I'm working on a blonde with very fine hair, I might have to drop all of this much to, when I comb it down, I see a solid line here.
So it depends on the thickness of the hair?
Yes, and the color too. And if I'm working on somebody with very thick hair and it's dark and it's solid and dense, and I bring that much down and it's a solid zero here, then I'm good there. So it depends on the hair, yes. Okay, so I've done the back, and now I'm going to do the sides. So the sides, like I said, is going to be a little bit different. I am just going to now connect the top guide that I made with her length. So I'll pull a piece here, and I'm going to drop my zero. How much? Enough to give me a solid line. Because her color here got lighter, it's not a solid line, I might even drop more. And her hair is really thick in the back and not so much on the sides, so I really want to make sure that I don't take away from that drama. If it was colored dark, I don't have to drop that much. So now I am going to connect this strand to this strand. That's going to be my guide. Those are going to be my guides. Remember I made this guide when I held it up? So I'll hold it up. And notice it's different than what I did in the back. It's completely different than what I did in the back. I wasn't holding it at a 90 in the back. So here's my top guide right there. I'm going to just lift my elbow up to find a guide there, and I'm going to cut. Now on the sides, I'm not point cutting because her hair is already thinner on the sides. It's already got movement. I want the sides to look thicker and I want the back to look thinner, if that makes sense, so that they can kind of blend together. Because this is too thin, this is too thick. I want to have a happy medium. So I didn't point cut this. I want thickness here. So I'll move that over, and the next section, this is an interesting one. If I pick this up, the drama of this haircut is the length in the front. So I can't do that. I need to drop. Here we all have like breakage, and we have maybe our bangs. So I would rather drop more and come back to it than cut too much and change the weight line. So I think that's about all I can do there. So I will look for my top guide, which is right here, and I'm going to find a piece that I can connect it to, which is right there. Okay, so that side is done. Before I move on, I should just kind of take a look and see what's happening, because maybe this is not short enough and I'm not happy with it, or I consult with her and she's not happy with it. It's not short enough. So then I can, instead of doing the whole haircut and then coming back, I'll just do half. Take a look, because I can get a good idea of what it's looking like. And I think that's going to be okay, because once she does those little waves, you can see the layers in the back. I think they're short enough. I don't need to go shorter. So, same thing, of course, on the other side. Actually, before I do the other side, just in case you guys have to go, your bangs. There is a disconnect between the bang and the length. Mm-hmm. Do you want the disconnect, or do you want them connected?
I want them connected.
She wants them connected. So it's okay that the bangs are disconnected, like a Cleopatra kind of bang and then a bi-level. But she said she wants them connected, so let me show you how to do that. And she said she didn't want her bangs any shorter, so I'm not going to shorten them. I'm going to use them as my guide. She also said she parts it in the middle, so I'm going to go with whatever she does. This part's important. Sometimes when we do fringe, which is what I'm doing now, when we do fringe, you can see where her bang is. What will happen if I blend it this way? Yeah, I eliminate the whole drama of that haircut, the whole front, the whole side. So you have to be careful when you're doing the fringe, just to do the fringe, not to go back and remove the whole side. I've seen some haircuts that are like that, and unless the client wants it that way, but we can't do that here. So you usually, when you're doing fringe, you take a section from the middle of the ear forward, because that's going to give you just the fringe. If you go to behind the ear and forward, that's going to take off the side. But everybody's different. Look, when I go, this is the front of her ear, and look how much hair is there. There's length. If I went to the middle of the ear on her, I'm going to take off the side. So I might even go more towards the front of the ear. See, even with the front of the ear, I have the length. That's all I want. I'm going to move the rest over. Because I'm just doing the fringe, I don't want any layers in here. So I am basically going to now blend that bang to the length and not remove any of the length. I don't want to cut any of this. I want to cut to it, but I don't want to cut any of it. The other thing is, I'm not going to take and comb this forward, because if I do, what's going to happen? I'm going to get a layer. And I'm not layering right now. I already did my layers. And I don't want a hole in my zero either. So I have to make sure that I'm combing it straight down, like it's going to fall. I am not going to comb it this way. Right when I do that, I'm going to get layers. So I'll comb it down, and then I can do this with a razor, or I could do it with shears. But you can see I don't have much space. You know, I don't have much space there to blend it. So I'll just do the best I can do. I'm going to take, and I'm going to open and close and slide my shear. So where my shears are here, where her bang is, that's where I'm going to start, and I'm just going to go like this. But I'm not closing it all the way. If her hair was not bleached, I might be able to just slither it and slide down. If my shears are sharp and her hair is not bleached, I would do that. But because it's bleached, I don't want to do that. I want to give some blunt ends, not julienne her ends, if that makes any sense. So right where that bang fell, I'm opening and closing. Also, my shear is not pointing back. My shear is pointing to her length. That way for sure I don't cut the sides off. So I'm sliding my left hand and my right hand is following. It's better. I can't do too much because I'm going to take it off because I don't have much room. But it is definitely going to blend better. So pointing my shears down, opening and closing, sliding my left hand and my right hand is following. Don't take off the length. Okay, I think that's enough because I'm getting real sparse here. And that's what I would do to finish off the other half. So with that, and then I would be done. So I'm going to finish the other half though. And then, when it's a new style for somebody, you could dry it and then take a look at it and see if you need to do anything else too. So like for her, I would blow dry it and style it and then take a look and decide with her if I want to do anything different. Take it any shorter. So I already have my guide in the middle. There it is there. You guys can see it. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. Move my fingers away so I don't hurt myself. And like cut it. See, guys? Sorry, I have to flip it so I can see it. Okay, here I am on this side, the transition section. I already layered these. I need to be careful here, so I will drop the guide, and this will be the last section that I pull over. Not too much to cut there. Okay, and now I'm at the side, so different haircut complete. Take a guide from the top to the side, drop my 0, how much depends on her hair. I got a nice solid line here. There's my top guide right here. So I'll just lift up my elbow just to make sure I don't cut too much. Bluntly, I cut the side. Here's the last section on the side. Drop the 0. That's not enough. And let your comb have a head start. If your fingers are right with your comb, you can't see your guide. But if I hold it up, it's going to move the hair away so that I could see my guide. In the front, there's not too much to cut. Okay, now I'm going to do the fringe on this side. Same thing as on the other side. I will part the hair on Michelle, the front of the ear, and when I do, I'm going to look to see if I have my length. If I have my length, I'm good. Move this over. One side of the fringe is always easier to do than the other side. I'm not going to comb forward. I'm going to let it fall like it wants to fall. And I'm not cutting the length, I'm cutting to the length. Here's her bang, so I'm going to move my comb over. As soon as that falls, I'm going to go in. My shear is pointing down towards the length. I'm opening and closing slightly as I move down to the bottom. Take a look at it. Okay, that looks okay. So now I want to check it with the other side. Best way to check the fringe is to ask them to look down, and I want to see like an A. I want to see evenness on the two sides. Look down. And it's going to help me see what I need to do. Okay, so I can see that right here I need to do a little more. Look straight, Michelle. And it was right here. This piece was too long. Right here. A little more. I could have done this with the razor too. I could have taken my razor and just slide cut, but not on Michelle. Okay, Michelle, I think we're good. Let me feel the back and see if I need to do any more texturizing. Let me kind of shake it and see what it looks like.
Looks great.
And can I do a little texturizing? I want to show them something.